Back to this Sports Center. Let's open this thing up a little bit here. The complete top 10 in Mel Kiper Jr.'s mock draft 1.0. After 4 of his top 5 play offense led by 3 quarterbacks, he likes the Jets to pick Minkah Fitzpatrick, one of the leaders there of Alabama's defense. On 2 picks later, his first wide receiver comes off the board there with Calvin Ridley, also out of Alabama, headed to the Chicago Bears.
Mel Kiper is back. Todd McShay as well joining us here, and I've been clearance to fire up this segment, okay? All right? My job may depend on it. I'm just kidding. All right. Lamar Jackson didn't make your first mock draft, Mel. When the draft rolls around in April, how high could we see him go?
I think second round, and maybe late first if somebody wants to trade in. Max, and you can't project trades at this stage of the first round and figure out what teams are going to do 25 to 32. They certainly could look at Lamar Jackson at that point. The big issue is going to be precise passing. Can he put the ball into tight windows? Can he be the type of quarterback in the NFL you need to be? 57% career completion percentage for Lamar Jackson. Some looking at him because of his athleticism as a wide receiver. That could be something like Terrell Pryor when he starts out at quarterback and becomes a wideout. But initially, I think the team addressed him maybe second round. We'll look at him as a developmental quarterback.
What do you think, Mel, though? There's a lot of ifs and cans, and what do you actually think? Where would you draft him?
I would draft him in the second round because I think at that point, the risk reward is there. If he doesn't make it a quarterback, you have a great fallback. But he has to buy in. And that's the thing I think that I don't know that he's going to buy in.
As a receiver.
Right.
This is like a second round. We go as a receiver talent. That might be
a second round quarterback.
A second round quarterback.
Who, if he doesn't get it done as a quarterback, moves to wide receiver. But he's got to be all in on the wide receiver transition. If he's not, then that may alter how you feel about taking him in the second round.
I've never spent any time with him talking football. So I just first thing we've got to figure out is the football intelligence, how quickly he picks things up. And then secondly, I've got to figure out, do I have someone on my staff that can help him work to consistently improve his footwork, in which the result will be better accuracy? Because right now, it's different. With Josh Allen, he's 56% career percentage, but it's different when you watch. The supporting cast was not great for Lamar, I get it, but it was terrible for Josh Allen. And you look at all the quarterbacks in the league, you've got to come in with, I think, a higher level of consistency throwing the football and hitting spots from inside the pocket. Now, he improved this past year, and it's promising. But to me, maybe later second, third round, where you're typically drafting guys that you think can start, but it can be really good backups and bring some versatility. Before that, I just don't know the value is going to be there. But the scary part is, and I'll admit, this dude is freaky in terms of his athleticism. And so maybe you're passing on someone, if properly developed by the right person in the right scheme, that could be a huge difference.
And that's the problem in the NFL right now. We're looking for everybody to be ready at the same time, and everybody's not ready at the same time. Back in 1980s, we'd be looking at Lamar Jackson saying, hey, 2-3 years and then developing him. Right. Now we don't even worry about 3 years. He's kicked to the curb. He's a wide receiver. He's a bust. He can't play quarterback. It's ridiculous what the expectations are for these young quarterbacks coming out of college, that if they're by year 1, 1.5, if they're not the guy and they're not playing at a high level like a 7-8 year pro, we're discarding them. I think the league is tearing them up, spitting them out, chewing them up, spitting them out too fast. And I think we got to get back to the way it was. And what Todd said is, develop him, put him on put him in the back burner. Don't even talk about Lamar Jackson for 2 years. Let him learn, sit, watch, and learn, and maybe you have something.
As a quarterback / receiver, maybe he gets well as a receiver, and that changes everything. It's fascinating prospects for the NFL because of the athleticism that you touched on. We'll see where he falls. Baker Mayfield, more and more we hear he is slipping higher and higher. You have him 13th to the Redskins, at least in that 13th spot. What questions did he need to answer for you ahead of the draft?
Well, I think the Senior Bowl is how he handles himself. And I think everybody's going to watch him and see that the players we know love him. We know the coaches love him. Opponents don't like him because he beats them. And the way he goes about his business, he'll be out there, and he has a mentality, kind of a linebacker mentality. You see the build more like a Russell Wilson than a Manziel type. But the antics, the lack of maturity at times, he's got to be the CEO. I think hopefully he learns from those mistakes, and it never happens again, where we see what happened against Kansas ever happening again.
Yeah, I love this dude.
McShay's basically been a supporter of Baker's all along. Now, I said 13, Todd. Is it too high at 13?
No, it's not too high. I think
higher.
I think you could go in the top 10. I mean, Miami's sitting there at 11. You got 4 teams there. Tampa Bay, Chicago, San Francisco, Oakland all have quarterbacks. And so if Mayfield gets to 6, then I think all the teams behind him, you're looking at possibly Miami, you're looking at Washington, Arizona. Buffalo has 2 picks back-to-back, I think at 21 and 22. So it's going to be interesting, and it's also going to be interesting to see, all right, if we have quarterbacks go 1 and 2, and you got Indy, who doesn't need a quarterback. at 3. Cleveland presumably would have taken one at 4. So would the Jets then be in position to try to jump ahead of Denver? I think it's going to be a mad dash, a little bit like it was a year ago, but with more volume for these quarterbacks this year. And I think Mayfield's going to be one of those 4 that we could potentially see going off the board in the top 10.
I have a question with regards to the quarterbacks. Josh Allen, we don't know a lot of. Sam Darnold, he took a step back, and Josh Rosen's a quarterback that we sometimes question whether he really, this is the passion that he wants. There's no questions with regards to Baker Mayfield. How does that help him when you compare him to these other guys in the top?
I think obviously the intangibles actually is a big thing with him, and how competitive he is, and how he played, and how he throws the football, how he moves around is all in his favor. And I think the thing that helps him too is after him, if you say he's the 4th quarterback slotted, between 4 and 5, which would be Mason Rudolph from Oklahoma State, Lamar Jackson, Louisville, and a host of others like Mike White, Western Kentucky, it's a gap. So if you want that next quarterback that could be really good, you're talking about 13 with Washington. If they bring Cousins back in the fold, that's still a hot spot because Arizona's at 15. So I think that's where somebody can move up and get Baker Mayfield if, in fact, he does well at the Senior Bowl. And that week in Mobile is going to be important for him. I really believe that's a week where if he shows what he can do down there at a high level, he gets momentum built up. And nobody's worrying about 6 foot. The antics are forgotten. Nobody cares anymore. They love the fact that he's so competitive and such a linebacker mentality.
Every player there is going to gravitate to Baker Mayfield. It's only going to help him if he's there for the whole week.
Exciting stuff. And if he gets picked early, what does that bring up for the next guy like Mason Rudolph, Lamar Jackson? We're just getting started. Todd McShay, Mel Kiper Jr. here joining us on SportsCenter.
We're not even kidding.